Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, it's more of a teaser than anything else. Several people have asked me, whether it be on my website or here in the YouTube channel, to try to start giving some web development videos. And I start by showing you a little bit of maybe what I've done, just so you get a bit of a flavor of what I'm talking about. And I'd like to see some comments below if this is worth continuing to pursue and explore with you all, or if you guys had another vision in mind. So please share your comments after this video and let me know a little bit if I am going down the path that everyone wants to see and partake in. So for my personal experience, I chose to go down the path of web development when, at the time, my biggest client got hit with two major bugs from Microsoft 365. They'd been using Access for, I'm not quite sure, 8 years, maybe more, a database I developed, and it drove their entire business. It took customer orders, it did all of the subcontracting, it did absolutely everything. It was... Hey, mission critical is an understatement. And they got hit by one bug, and it took almost 2 days to get them back operational. It took some time to identify what the source of the issue was. When you got 20 guys twiddling their thumbs, clients calling, you can't even take their orders because the system's down, it doesn't take long for the client to get upset. And then they got hit within a couple of weeks, another bug, and they were taken down again. And at that point, the client more or less put it to me, get me off of Office. And that's what I did. And I had dabbled is the proper word, with web development, but I certainly wasn't a web developer at that point in time. It took me, I'm not even quite sure, 6 months, I think, to migrate their database. And I won't lie, their database was very complex, had truly advanced programming interactions, doing all sorts of stuff with Outlook and Excel and Word. So it wasn't just a simple database, couple forms. It was quite advanced. And then it took me another 1.5 years to do continued development, because once we migrated to this PHP web solution, and they started seeing certain new things that they could do, then they got interested in let's exploit this to its full capacity. One of the more recent things is we've been able to integrate a web form on their website where now clients can make orders, and it pushes it indirectly to the database. They receive email notifications that a new order has been received, but it's already in the system, so they don't have to retype anything. Certain checks and balances are also performed to make sure that the information makes sense, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And confirmation email also goes out to the client saying that the order was well received and that someone, is going to be following up, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So enough blab about how I got into this. Let's talk about what I specifically chose and the why. There are lots of programming languages out there, lots of different avenues and paths we can pick. This is what I chose. This doesn't necessarily mean it's the best option for you. I say in general, though, it is a smart decision, a smart path. I chose to go the route of PHP/MySQL. In my case, it doesn't even have to be MySQL. We're going to get into that in a second, but I can basically use almost any backend. And in fact, for this specific client that I was referring to before, it used to be PHPMySQL, and we've actually, because of their IT, they ended up going over to Azure services and that for different variety of reasons. And then we just said, okay, well then we might as well also use the Azure SQL database, since you've already got this entire package and it's already available to you. So that we ended up migrating eventually. Well, Access went to MySQL, and then we migrated MySQL over to Azure SQL. So we'll talk about it, but basically with PHP, you can also connect to a variety of databases. Similarly, I guess you'd say to what Access can do, one of its strengths, right? Well, PHP is very similar. Postgre, MySQL, Oracle, you can connect to a whole slew of databases without an issue. Why did I pick PHP? Let's look at it from the standpoint. My experience has been, I've seen a number of clients get locked in with software vendors, things like that. And then when they're not happy or they hit the limits or whatever the case may be, they decide they want to move on and they're caught. They can't get their data back out. They can't do this. They can't do that. They're at the mercy of the vendor. So I didn't want to get locked in again with proprietary software. I had looked at .NET. I had looked at, up and coming in those days was Blazor. I had been on PGI, so I was, I knew about it before it had even been released and things like that. And it was very promising, but I decided I didn't want anything, not to be mean, but with Microsoft, especially with this client, because they were getting away from Microsoft because Microsoft had let them down and cost them thousands of dollars in downtime and annoyed several of their clients. And so we needed something away from Microsoft. And I ended up deciding on PHP. There are several reasons. I'm not going to go into all of them here today. We can't overlook, it is a free open source software. And I have no problem standing behind open source software. I've used them for years. And you have to support that type of development. And they've developed something that basically drives the internet. The most popular CMS, WordPress, is PHP driven. So if the most popular websites in the world run PHP, well, then I have confidence that I can use PHP as well and that it will serve me well. I also liked it because it had lots of good documentation. You can find tons of examples online, and there are tons of forums that you can turn to get extra help. So those were the main reasons. There were a couple other. And then, MySQL, same thing here. We're talking about a database just like PHP that's been around for decades, that's reliable, well-renowned. There are tools like for MySQL, you have PHPMyAdmin, for instance, to manage it graphically. So, you can obviously do SQL commands directly to the server and things like that if you want, float your boat and make you happy. But sometimes it's nice to also have a graphical tool, and MySQL has a graphical tool. So, these different factors, I went down that path. Now, I'm going to say right off the bat is, you would be nuts, and there are tons of websites showing you how to do it, but you would be absolutely insane to say to yourself, I'm going to start PHP today, and I'm going to go on these websites that show me how to make a database connection and show me how to do CRUD. Because you are leaving yourself wide open to hacking. There are security concerns. There are things you need to do, put in place to try and reduce your vulnerabilities to all sorts of attacks and hacks. This is why, if you're going down the route, almost of any programming language in reality, but let's talk about PHP. If you're going to learn PHP, you're going to do PHP development, you then have to, I shouldn't say then, you should first look at and decide which framework you're going to use. A framework is a set libraries, tools that will help accelerate, standardize your development. I have here a Wikipedia page, but you'll check Google. There's tons and tons of different people that have put out posts with their opinions looking at different options. But if you look here are the main PHP frameworks. Some of the more notable ones, I guess, names that you may have heard of, things like Cake PHP, CodeIgniter, Zen, that's been renamed, Symfony, Yi. So these are all different frameworks that you can download and use. Some you pay for, some are free. You look at the licenses over here and you decide which ones have the the benefits that you need. Each one has pros and cons, so you do have to evaluate them and look at them. And there are websites that specifically do that, where you can see, oh, this one is more security centric. Let's say they concentrate more on security. This one has more, let's say, extensions, so you can quickly get up and running. So you got to go over these different things and find the one that you think is going to make you happy, and then you learn that. In my case, I chose Yi. One of the main reasons was security. It's a relatively new, because I picked Yi 2, not Yi. So Yi came out in 2008. Yi 2 did not. And as you can see, it is actively under development because they released a new version, and that's not entirely true. This needs to be updated because I have 2.0.49, and even that isn't 100% up to date. So this is outdated information. But as you can see, you can quickly look here and see which ones are no longer really being developed. 2018, 2019, 2017. So these ones are ones that maybe you should steer away from. You want to be using stuff that is state of the art and up to date with security features and things like that, which there are a whole variety. I picked E because of security, and also I had looked at some of their extensions. I saw stuff there that I thought would work for me and my client at the time, and I went down that path. The other thing I will say is that if you learn one extension, quite often you can step into another one and get up and running relatively quickly, okay? It isn't always the case, but there's a lot of similarities. For instance, I will say Yi and Laravel are very similar. I can jump on a Laravel project and be up and running almost instantaneously. So just because you pick one doesn't mean you're locked into that. You can always switch, you can always investigate. And that's what I did initially, is I actually downloaded, I believe, Cake, CodeIgniter, Zen, Yi, and I played around just doing very, very basic stuff, just doing a simple form and whatnot, just to see how the coding worked and what I thought of it, things like that. But like I say, I went down the path of Yi, and I don't regret it in the least. Okay, enough chit chat. Let's just, like I said, this is supposed to be a teaser. Let's take a very quick glance here. Like I say, this has a login because there is security. And you're getting warnings this is not secure and whatnot because I'm working on my development system. This is not truly on the internet right now. I have a version of this on the internet which is locked down in HTTPS and the whole 9 yards. But this one here is my development machine and isn't. That's why you're seeing these errors and you're seeing there's no lock. You're also seeing a web address here. This does not exist. Like I say, this is just running on my development machine. So this is not the actual address of my solution. Don't think you can go and find it that way and hack. It won't work. But you, like any other website, put in credentials, log in, and you're brought to my system. So this is something I was developing over a period of time for myself, just to show you a few little things. So you've got the menu bar. I have it on the left side, and you can go over different pages, billing, and as you see here, download, invoice, make a payment, review payment history. You get color coding. It follows where your cursor is just to make it a little easier to view. Mileage, expenses. So this is a tool I started developing for myself. Now, right now, this is all demo data. None of it is real. And that's also why currently the financial dashboard doesn't have any information. But as you can see, you can create these nifty things. Multiple charts can be going on. Summary data at the top. You can pick and choose colors, all of this stuff. Custom reporting is possible. I got clients breakdown here. So clients, you can pick And as you can see here, I have it broken down: address, telephone, all my contacts. It's like a continuous form where you can just add as many as you want. You can add as many phone numbers as you want, as many emails as you want. You can remove them, etc., etc., etc. Then, because this was somewhat for me, I wanted to track client accounts. So I wanted to be able to, track, let's say, their TeamViewer account. I wanted to have, let's say, their Microsoft account. All this different stuff. I'm able to store it. And needless to say, this information is encrypted. So it's not just locked behind an HTTPS, but I also encrypt the data before it goes to the database. So if the database is ever compromised in any way, all they get is gibberish. And the same thing with their assets. I track computers and devices, tablets, all this other stuff for different clients. So you're able to come and put in all the necessary information, have nice pop-up calendars, all this different stuff, and you can go and fill it in, nice switch buttons, etc., etc., etc. Projects, I define projects for clients as they come in. Something I'm actually expanding on further to get more into financial estimates and things like that will be getting added to this. But as you can see, the client, who's the contact for this project, some general information, the status, when it started, any notes for myself that I can add in and do whatever I need to do. Tickets was a new system I developed where I'm able to allow users to access a form to create a ticket, and then it comes into this area where I'm able to track and follow. So users basically input the following form for me that I receive on my end in a manner that I can then do tracking. So, who made it initially, the ticket, when was it made, what's the current status, which project, they put in a description, and then they can give details, and they have full access to HTML. They can insert images and tables and bullet points, and they can do whatever they need to do. And then over time, the status will change depending on what I want. It's been canceled, completed, in progress. So then they can follow up and see what the status is of the ticket at their end of the world. And there's severity, obviously. So I can switch this to a bug and I can say it's severe, systems down. So this is a critical one that I need to be on top of. And then if you look here, it gets automatically updated to bug. It's a severe one. And you're able to do filtering. I want all of the severe bugs, let's say. These are the ones I need to currently be concentrating on. So as you can see from the main page, I'm able to do all sorts of things, and you can further filter it and say which project I'm currently looking at. You can sort by date. You can do whatever you want. See, sort by date. Now they're sorted by date. Inverse them. There you go. So, and all of this stuff is, with Yi at least, is somewhat baked in. I didn't go invent how to build this table. It's a grid view. I just implemented their grid view and I was up and running quite quickly. Obviously, there's lots of things that you do customize and you do yourself, but the frameworks give you a lot of this basic framework already there for you to just use. Employees, it's very basic, but as you can see, you can have your different employees set up and just basic information here. And as you can see here, I'm not using a button anymore like I did here, just to show you a difference where I made a magnifying glass button. But here, I made it, you just click on the row. So you see different functionalities, things you can actually achieve. Throughout my databases, I have lots of drop downs. For instance, let's say the titles here. Where is this being driven from? We all know a properly normalized database. We're not inputting in the table vice president. We're not putting verbal words like that over and over and over, right? We're going to have a table, a lookup table. So I have list management for each one of these. So I have one here for, let's say, the client assets, the types, the manufacturers, software, etc. In the general, as you can see here, titles. So if I click on it, you'll see currently I have 3 titles. And I can edit any of them if there's a typo. I can add a new one if I want to. And instantaneously it is input. So you can go over, edit any of these, change them over time. It's just a convenient graphical way of doing it if you don't want to work through your database directly. So projects, the ticket system. Then I have settings. So you have security. You can user accounts, roles, because this is set up in a proper way where I create users. Each user is assigned groups. Groups are assigned permissions. So I'm able to control who accesses which forms. You can even lock down specific functionalities and buttons. You can make this very modular if you want, and granular if you want. You can make it very simple. You can make it very complex. It depends on your needs. Account settings, change the password, and then log out. Now, like I said, this is all driven by PHP and MySQL. So if we come to PHPMyAdmin for a second, why am I not seeing it? PHPMyAdmin. Okay, we can come here to the My Help desk and it will load. And here is the database in question with all of my tables. So this is a MySQL database. I'm using PHPMyAdmin. Obviously, you're using a different database, Postgre, whatever. Then you're going to use a different interface to work with it. Or you may not use an interface at all, and you may do it all through SQL commands, SQL statements. But with MySQL, it's nice to have a graphical tool where I can come and review the data if I want. I can alter the structure directly, the columns. I can change the types, the sizes, the names, whatever needs to be done. You can also perform searches and exports and imports and all these different things. This is also where you can do some table or database maintenance if need be. And it's very simple to use. I am working here today to make the server, since this all works locally and I'm not actually running on the internet. I'm using LAMPP or XAMPP, depending who you speak to. One is for Windows, one is for Linux. This is a new Linux machine I just built. Because I found my Windows development machine has become horrifically slow over the years or maybe decade that I've been using it. And no matter what I do, I can't seem to get it to go and perform properly. And I created this, dragged over that database, that website, and the difference in speed is insane. So if you are going to go down the route of doing any development, this is probably what I'd recommend today. I built this machine yesterday. So Linux with LAMPP. So to make all of this happen, I use VSCode, Visual Studio Code. I highly recommend it. It's a great working environment. There are other ones I've used over the years. But just to show you very briefly, if we were to look at this one, Yi is a model controller view framework. So if we were to, here, let's go back here very quickly, right? We're on the client index page. If we come back here and we look here under view, clients, and we go down to index, this is the code that is rendering that page. Okay. And as I said, I just implemented the grid view. So this is something that's baked into Yi. I didn't have to create it, and it takes care of whatever needs to be taken care of to create the proper layout, to create that table and the filters and everything else that goes along with it. All I have to do is give it different options, define the columns that I want displayed, etc., etc., etc. And down here I have all sorts of JavaScript to give different functionalities that I needed. And then based off of this, it's going to be getting initially called, if we look at the clients controller, you come down to, we're looking at the index page. So index page, and what is it doing? It renders the index page that we were just on. So I come back down here. It's saying go render the index, and it's providing a search model, a data provider, and time. So if it's rendering this page. That's why I say everything is from here. The client controller is using the search module client search. So if we go to the models, and I know this is very quick and I'm not expecting you to remember this. The client search is right here. So it's using this model, which extends the base client model. So all of these work together. These 4 files are what generate this here. And I know it seems complicated, but it truly isn't. The client model basically looks at the table schema, and it defines the columns, which ones are integers, which ones are required, the field sizes, the relationships to different tables. Here it defines the textual value that I want shown. I don't want to see city ID on my forms. I want to say city. I want to see client number. No, I want to see a nice space. I want it to be legible. Same thing with different ones. So postal code. And the other beauty here is, once again, I'm using a baked-in feature. I'm using the YT for translate, so I can provide different language files, and this system would be instantaneously functional in whatever language I provide the translations for. I don't need to create new views, forms, controls, any of that stuff. I just update this file and everything's updated throughout. And then you have custom functions here that you may create to do different things throughout your database. For instance, here, client info, I am building up the address, number, suite, city, etc., and phone number to display underneath the contact so the user doesn't have to go look that information up every time. So that's the bulk of it. The beauty with Yi is it even provides the functionality once you create your table that it will automatically generate the controller, the models, and even base views. It generated the basis of the index. It generated the basis of the forms, the update, the create, etc., etc. Then I take it and I customize it to suit my needs further. But I could take a database and I could automatically generate all of this and have fully functional CRUD for any table in a matter of seconds. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not going to have bells and whistles. It won't have a pop-up calendar for the date, but I can still have a fully functional system. I could take a database from a client today and probably have it up and running. Well, I have done it for clients by the end of a day because a tool like Yi permits it and has automated features. Now, is that a system that I'd want in production? No, because it's going to be prone to allowing users to do things they shouldn't and make entries they shouldn't. And that's where you need a developer to take things further and add those tools to avoid them making such, bad entries and mistakes and avoid duplications and things like that. But I'm just saying the framework permits me to very quickly do all of the heavy lifting, and then I come in now and I start doing all the fine tuning and taking a basic application and turning it into a functional tool and a solution to my client's needs. So that's just a quick overview of it all, but that really is, MySQL, PHP, and you can develop some truly, truly nifty things, whether it's data entry and review, whether it's, tickets, like I say, where you can integrate full HTML editing capabilities and images, whether it's pulling out dashboards with graphics, custom reporting tools you can do. The sky is really the limit here. For instance, one last thing that just caught my corner of the eye I wanted to show. You can also add in things like to export. So I'm on this page And I'm not sure if this is going to work, but let's say PEXA. And I want to export the entries I have here for some reason. So it's going to generate a PDF, and there's the information as a PDF. And it was no harder than that. I want to do it as an Excel. You can do it. You want it as a CSV. You can do that. And there you go. So, you know, the sky is the limit. You can do all sorts of nifty things. The beauty here too is this will render fine on a cell phone, assuming you do your HTML, your CSS properly. You know, it is the future. It is what people want today. They want tools that work anywhere, from anywhere, on any device. And this is what web development can allow you to do if you take the time to learn. So I hope this is a little informative. I hope it shows you a little bit of what is possible. This doesn't have to be complex. It can be very complex. Don't get me wrong. There are certain things I've had to do that have taken me weeks to program. And that is the life of a programmer, right? And there are other things that I thought were going to take me weeks, and I managed to find an extension, put it in place, and it was done in minutes. And talking about extensions, just in case, you know, maybe you're not familiar, you're not 100% grasping. So the Yi framework, you go to yiframework.com, and if you look here, so they've got their guide on documentation. They got a forum here, which is also very useful. So you have questions you need answered, create an account and come and ask your question. But if you look in the community, you have what's called extensions. And you can obviously perform searches, search extensions, things like that. They've got different categories here that you can go through. Let's just click on one randomly. I've never used it. This isn't one I've used, but here's one for charting. And it tells you how to get it using Composer. And Composer will go and install it directly into your web development folder. It will set everything up, and then here is an example they give you of the HTML code, or PHP code should I say, that you need to implement on your page. So they show you the different properties and attributes that you can define. And they give you an example here even using Ajax. A lot of these things also will give you, here you go, a link to a GitHub repository where a lot of times you can get more information, and they may give you access to demonstration web pages so you can actually take a look at it in real life production use to make sure you're going to get what you want. But just, you know, there are, I don't know how many hundreds of different extensions. It's a question of finding what you need, and then you just put it in place. And the other beauty with this, because you're using Composer, and I'm sure many of you aren't familiar with it, but it's a tool that allows you to run a command like this, and this command does the work, the heavy lifting for you. Like I say, it would go and download this library and install it for you. So you're able to use Composer to install it, but just as easily, no, this isn't the right one, you can uninstall it and remove it, and it's gone. And then you just move on to another one to test. And I have a website basically which I created using Yi, but that's all I do with it is I use it for testing. I install a variety of different extensions and I test them out just to see how they work, how they look. Instead, I'm not always doing it on my production websites. I have one specifically for that need. But as you can see here, it's using Yi and it's using the chart.js. So anyway, just to give you an idea of what an extension is. They are extra functionalities that you can download and put into production immediately that other developers have developed. Sort of like me putting out demo databases that people can copy my code, my classes, my modules, my forms, and just implement into them. It's the same general idea of an extension. It's other people have developed all sorts of nifty things, and they're being kind enough to provide it that we can download it and use it as well. So saving us a lot of development time. And you can also take one of these and say it gets me 90% of the way of where I want to be, but you can still go and tweak it further. So, you can fork it and create your own version if you want. Okay, enough talking. I hope some of this has been interesting. Please leave me a comment. Let me know if this is the type of thing that interests you. If I do start doing a serious web development series, I'll probably start from scratch and work our way up. So the first episode would probably be how to develop, let's say, a VM, a machine where we'd install, everything we need. So the LAMPP, Visual Studio, Yi, just the basics, configure virtual host and the host file, and that type of stuff. And then in the next following one would be, let's create our first Yi, very basic project. And then we would do subsequent videos taking it to the next level. Each course would be something new about that Yi website. So probably something like a contacts, or I'm not quite sure. I don't know if I want to get into billing, maybe. And feel free, in the comments to let me know the type of demo website that maybe would be more of interest to you than not. Okay, we'll stop here. Have a great day, everyone, and take care.